build apartments on it or build a development on it and have the money to that, and money will go to the council, money presumably will go to the developers, and the people of Bray will not have their Carlisle Grounds. I don't know how that is going to work out with the council owning the lease. Rebecca O'Connor's here, and you've got something pretty interesting.
Yes,
sum up a situation for us.
I just want you to have a listen to these words and see do they kind of strike a chord with you. So businessman Dennis O'Connor has sought to help a local football club emerge from the doldrums. He's a view to moving the club to a new ground, so the current grounds, which are in the city centre, could be used for development. The land at the current grounds is seen as a prime location for development due to its proximity to local amenities.
So he's talking about Bray Wanderers.
That's the thing, Declan. He's not talking about Bray Wanderers. This is the case of Doncaster Rovers, where back in the 90s, Dennis was brought in, Dennis O'Connor, and with a view to moving the club's grounds. The club were in a bit of a financial pickle. They weren't doing too well. And the view was to move the grounds and to use the money then to invest back into the football club.
As reported by Colm Keena in the Irish Times on July 24th, 2015, the recently appointed chairman of Bray Wanderers, Dennis O'Connor, featured in the Moriarty Tribunal in relation to a property deal involving a football stadium in Doncaster, England. The tribunal conducted inquiries into the ownership of Doncaster Rovers Football Club because the businessman Dennis O'Brien had bought it in the late 1990s with a view to having the club move to new grounds, so that the old grounds near the city centre, the lease on which was owned by Doncaster Rovers, could be developed. A few similarities there.
Yes, a few stark similarities, and I kind of just struck a chord when that article popped up and I started to read it, and I said it's definitely food for thought.
Indeed, yes it is. So the lease is owned in this case though by the Bray or Wicklow County Council and on the Carlisle Grounds, so we'll have to see what their views are, and maybe it's a good time at the moment to check in with the Cllr of the Municipal District of Bray from Wicklow County Council, and that is Christopher Fox, Independent. Good morning to you, Christopher.
Good morning, Declan.
Good morning to you. So, what do you make of the bizarre statement? What do you think of the, perhaps, similarity with Doncaster Rovers? And by the way, that Doncaster Rovers new ground is absolutely superb. I mean, it's they did pretty well out of it, but the story seems similar. What do you make of it all?
Well, I suppose I don't know much about the Doncaster Rovers scenario, but I suppose it's not unusual for clubs to move from city centre or town centre location. In actual fact, if you take Bray Emmett's GA club a few years ago, moved from Emmett Park, which was where the civic offices are now, and moved out to new premises at Old Connacht, and it was actually a fantastic move for the club. But however, that's not to say that in this case, the Carlisle Grounds, it's appropriate. I don't think it is appropriate.
The lease situation, just clarify that for us.
Yeah, well, the lease is now held by Wicklow County Council. As you know, they have a lease with Bray Wanderers. I think it's a 35-year lease. It was formerly with Bray Town Council, which was abolished in 2014. So Wicklow County Council now have the lease with Bray Wanderers. It's a fairly watertight lease. It's very specific. It's not just sporting. It's association football, which I suppose is soccer. But there is a provision in there to allow for other events in unique circumstances.
Like rugby league.
Like rugby league, yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's very tempting though. You've got a new development plan coming up for Greater Bray. There's the development of Fassar Row. There will probably be amenities or sporting amenities built into that development plan for Bray, which will include Fassar Row, and maybe building a stadium there could be quite good, a new modern stadium. And you could come to, and I don't mean you personally, but the council could come to a deal with developers to build up the Carlisle Grounds as regards residential or whatever, using money, to build social houses somewhere and also to develop that stadium. So it could be a good scenario and a win-win for everybody, except people who like to have the Carlisle Grounds as a sporting amenity?
Well, I don't really subscribe to that. I mean, the difference, I suppose, between the likes of Bray Emmets and Doncaster moving out to the periphery of the towns or cities are that they owned their own grounds in the first place. I mean, the Carlisle Grounds is owned by the council. It's a public asset. I mean, there's an assumption here that the council, an assumption by Bray Wanderers that the council would rezone, sell and hand over all the proceeds to Bray Wanderers Football Club, despite the fact that within the statement it says no expense or cost, there would be no cost to the Exchequer or the council. Yet that would be a huge, significant cost, given the prime location of the Carlisle Grounds and its potential value.
What about the thing in their statement about hard to do business in Wicklow, comparing it to North Korea? I don't know what it's like to do business in North Korea, but I'd say it's pretty dreadful.
I hope that doesn't make me Kim Jong. But certainly, I think that's the most bizarre element of the statement. But in saying that, it does beg the question: is there an obligation on Wicklow County Council to support Bray Wanderers in some shape or form? And I think there is, insofar as there's obviously a lack of training facilities for the club. I mean, that has been outlined quite clearly over the last couple of years. And as you said earlier, there is potential for developing a regional sports centre to the west of the town. And I would see state-of-the-art training facilities at that location, complementing their home games at the Carlisle Grounds. And the Carlisle Grounds as well needs a little bit of an investment from a facilities point of view. I mean, some of the facilities at the Carlisle Grounds are probably not up to League of Ireland standard,
but there you are, you're sort of making a case that a new state-of-the-art Doncaster Rovers style ground in Fassaro could be the answer to that. Build it on a greenfield site and you've got these all brand new 21st century facilities.
No, I think there's a lack of facilities within the town itself, and I think the green areas like the Carlisle Grounds, the People's Park and so on, they all have to be protected. I certainly would not support redevelopment of the Carlisle Grounds. And actually, Declan, no discussion with council officials or approach has been made by Bray Wanderers officially to the council to redevelop the Carlisle Grounds. The only inkling we've got of this is this statement yesterday. So, I mean, they haven't gone through any official channels to put this in train.
Why do you think they put it out there now, when they don't even own the ground?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Mr. Mulvey that, but I mean, it would be viewed. The statement would be viewed by many, even from a footballing perspective, as being overly ambitious. I mean, to put in place a facility or an academy comparable with Man United or Barcelona would require huge investment and huge running costs as well. And is that sustainable for a club of Bray Wanderers size? Well, look, I'm not sure it is.
Yeah, a lot of people have question marks over the statement itself, and a lot of people I spoke to yesterday didn't think it was real. They thought their account was hacked, but it turns out, and we did ring Bray Wanderers, and they confirmed yes, they did issue that. But it is ambitious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, based on what? Putting it out there and letting people get used to the idea, and maybe gathering support. I mean, a change to the lease of the Carlisle Grounds would require what? The council, all 32, not just Bray, but councillors all around the county, would it? Yeah,
the rezoning would be a function of the full council, all 32 elected members of Wicklow County Council. We did have the former chairman, Mr. Dennis O'Connor, into a municipal meeting in January, and he actually clearly stated that they were happy to remain at the Carlisle Grounds. So, you know, there's mixed messages coming from the club.
Yeah, but come on, you know, it was the only thing in play. The only thing of an asset in play with people who don't have a footballing background but have a different type of background of regards business, and no harm in that. That's what it's all about. But it was the only thing that could generate money.
Yeah, well, that would be a widely held view that, you know, people at the top of the club are developers, and you know, were they developers with an interest in football, or were they interested in developing the Carlisle Grounds? That's the $1 million question.
Okay, well, expect a call anyway, Christopher.
Yeah. Okay, Declan, thanks.
I talk to you. Thanks very much
All
indeed. Good morning to you. And that is the chair of the Bray section of Wicklow County Council, Chris Fox, Independent, there, about this statement that was issued yesterday. It's on their website as well. But anyway, they want to develop the Carlisle Grounds, but they don't own it yet. Yes. Okay, 087 77 11 103 is our number. The workings of the council, we hear about that. Katie Taylor getting ready for the weekend too, we'll hear about that. And antibiotics. The story came out during the week about taking antibiotics, and you usually hear it and they say, you have to finish the course now, because even though you feel better after day 4 or day 5 or whatever, you've got to go the whole 7 days so that you are completely cured, and let them do their job. That has been poo-pooed by certain people and said, didn't you feel better? You can dump the antibiotics. Anyway, we have a look at that later on. 087 77 11 103.
Have your say. Call the Morning Show hotline.